Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the Bark Eater Inn in High Peaks region, Adirondacks. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to Sleep In Sunday. It's Q&A day today. We sleep in. We do this show every day. If you're new to this, welcome. We do it at 5 a.m. Today we do it on Sunday, and Saturday we do it at 8 a.m. We usually have a really exciting guest. Today, I'm the guest. Kaustubha's going to interview me today.
It's easy for me and hard for you today.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't have a sleep in. I was so psyched. I justified my whole sleep in thing too. I was like, I'm going to sleep in. It's Sunday. I taught all day yesterday in Lake Placid, and I woke up with a splitting headache at 3 a.m. It was one of my Krishna coincidences. I accepted it as a divine plan. Krishna wants me awake to chant all my japa this morning. So I've been like sort of squeaking my japa in right before I go to bed. And I think this was a divine sign. And by the way, Krishna coincidence I call them KCs. I've been getting flooded with messages of people having Krishna coincidences. Like, oh my God. And then this happened. And then this happened. And then this. And I tell you, the more you hear these stories, the more you realize these can't be coincidences. They can't be. They're too out of this world. So if you got a Krishna coincidence, you can write me on my Instagram account, Raghunath Yogi, and I would love to hear your Krishna coincidence. How are you, Kaustubha?
First of all, did you say that you're at the Aardvark Eater Inn?
You've never eaten aardvark before? It's quite delicious. No, the bark eater. I think, and you can correct me, Tyler. Tyler's here. I think that bark eater was a put down to the Native Americans that lived here because there was nothing to grow here because farming is not good, and so they said you guys just eat bark.
Right. Yeah.
Like even Native Americans were sarcastic and rude. They weren't just pristine, living in peace. And
oh, hold on. Who was calling who a bark eater?
I think the other Native Americans were calling
amongst themselves
the nation that lived here.
Oh, okay.
The Iroquois were here. Were they calling themselves bark eaters? Like, there's nothing to eat here except bark.
I think I heard it's a derogatory term, but I think it's like more of like the mountains. Like, oh, you better be careful because you'll be eating bark up in
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay. I don't know if you heard that, but
not really.
He's saying he also heard it was derogatory, but he said it's so mountainous up here. You better be careful because you might just be eating bark. We're not quite sure.
All right. It sounds politically incorrect, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Let's move on.
Let's move on before I get caught in the quicksand here.
But I wanted to bring up a topic before we get started today because someone very special passed away yesterday.
Yes? Who?
And that was a musician. I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with Toots Hibbert of Toots and the Maytals.
Toots and the Maytals.
You were never such a reggae guy, Raghu, were you?
No.
Okay.
I listened to Steel Pulse. That's about as far as I
Steel
went.
Pulse. I love them. But you know, you know, historically, he was one of the originators of reggae music. Many people credit him with coining the term reggae. But I saw him play when I think I was 17 years old. It was like a free concert in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. I mentioned this on my Facebook page. But when he came, you know, I loved his music already. Like, you know, The Clash covered his song Pressure Job, right? And when like when I was 13 years old, if The Clash were into it, that's all I needed to know, right? It was like, it's got to be good. And so like, you know, that kind of opened the door to reggae music for me and a lot of my friends. And, but when I saw him step onto the stage, even though I didn't have, at that point in my life, I really wasn't pursuing spirituality in any kind of focused way. But I sensed from him something that was just like, that I hadn't sensed in any other person I'd ever seen or met before. That he had this aura of like, just, you know, like almost any musician, that any person stepping onto a stage, they're kind of concerned with their image, how they present themselves and so on. But when I felt something completely different from him. It was like he was just glowing with love. Like it was almost just like he loved every single person. He was just full of happiness. And it was very profound, the effect that it had on me. That like, even though I wasn't at the stage in my life where I was pursuing spiritual life, but that left this impression on me always, that this person actually, I think, understands something deep about life. You know, I don't have an enemy in the world. I don't judge you based on any external. You know, it was just that kind of heart-to-heart connection that was almost anybody that knew him had that kind of experience with him. And his lyrics were just full of beautiful kind of sentiments. And anytime you hear him talk, you felt it was on that higher level. It was a level that later in my life, I would understand this is the way that the sadhus live and think. You know, this is the way that the Bhakti-yogis live and think. And that impression stayed with me, you know, my whole life. Just from that one, you know, just from seeing him practically, just from seeing him walk on stage and interact with the audience. He's a very special man. So he passed away unfortunately, he's another victim of COVID. He was 77 years old. Yeah, he passed away yesterday. But I just wanted to share that, to, really touch my life in a way.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Two toots.
Toots. Yeah.
Toots.
So are you ready, Raghunath?
He was from Jamaica?
Yeah, he's from Jamaica. I mean, amazing story. He was like, he grew up singing in the churches. His family was Seventh-day Adventist, so I believe are vegetarian.
They're vegetarians.
Right. And, so singing in the churches and that spiritual quality always came through his music and through his presence. He was orphaned when he was 11 years old, wandered into, Trenchtown, in Kingston, Jamaica, which is a heavy, dangerous ghetto, kind of brought up there as an orphan, but just full of beautiful, positive love, you could see that was his heart. It just radiated from him,
Thank you. I'm going to listen to some toots today.
Little toots, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to some toots to the Maytals.
All right. Just, Google him and just like listen to some of his interviews.
Getting to all this music at 13 years old. My kids are so sheltered.
I wasn't 13. I mean, I started listening to him when I was 13.
Kids know nothing about this stuff.
Okay. Well, you got them tuned into all kind of cool music. And hey, let's start our interview there, okay?
Kirtan.
Yeah, well, let's start our interview there.
Kirtan and Broadway musicals.
Okay. Are you ready, Raghu?
I'm ready. Hit me whatever you got.
And so I want to make clear that the interview today is something that we're going to call the prophet style interview, which means for those of you that have read The Prophet, you may understand. The Prophet was a book where there was almost like the sage kind of character, and in the beginning of the book, this boat is coming. He's on the cliff and he's seeing the boat come, and he knows the next day he's going to get on that boat and return to the land where he grew up. He had been in this one place for 12 years. And all the local people, they have a certain love and respect for him. And they know this is probably the last time that they're ever going to see him in their lives. So they begin to ask him a series of questions. Each chapter is one question on these kind of basic, fundamental aspects of what you could call the human condition, just like very fundamental aspects about life. All right.
I thought I was going to make a profit from this show. I thought, wait a second.
No, not that kind of profit.
Not that kind of. Oh man, they monetized the show. I'm going to make some money.
So, you ready? So,
Yes.
so speaking about Toots and the effect that music had on me, my first question is, tell me about music.
Music is, I've never heard this anywhere, but I think music is not from this planet. I think music is from higher regions, like from heavens. You know how they explain in the 13th chapter the banyan tree of material existence?
Mm-hmm.
You got these gross parts of the banyan tree, this big part.
15th chapter.
The banyan tree grows like a city block.
Yeah. But
then the higher, and it represents like material life. And then it goes higher and it sprouts branches. And then the branches go out farther and farther into like little twigs. And those refined twigs are like the higher enjoyment of the material world. They're like refined enjoyment. Mm-hmm. And in one sense it's material, but in another sense it's so refined it's almost coming from a higher place. And I think that musicians have this ability to channel it, and especially musicians who write music, because some musicians just play other people's music. Like a lot of people, like I grew up in orchestra. I played violin. But if you really think about
Hold it.
You know I played violin? Played it for years.
Hold it 1 second here. You played violin?
For years.
Can you still do it?
You know what? I'm not a musician. I played for years.
So you tortured your family with that violin?
Yes, basically. Violin's one of these instruments. It takes years just to stink at it. But I don't know. I could play a lot of instruments, but I was never good at them. But I could write songs, and I feel like that songwriting, you channel something. And I've heard other musicians say this too. It's almost like it's already there. You have to just channel it. I've heard so many musicians say like that, and artists say that too.
In terms of songwriting,
creating songs, yeah. And so in Bhakti, there's all incredible. I think like these ragas, there's different ragas for different times of the day. And so there's, and this whole real classical ragas are so beautiful and so like really otherworldly, mm-hmm. but they're still of this celestial realm. Whereas once you add the mantra, it's the raga and the tal, the beat and the music is like a vehicle. But when you put the mantra on top of the raga and the tal, then it transports you out of this world. So that's where the mantra comes in. And that's where kirtan is. Kirtan's not from this world. It's imported from a spiritual realm. All right.
Golokara Premadana Harinama Sankirtan.
Harinama Sankirtan. It's imported from Goloka, they say. But I think music is from the heavens, I think. I mean, then there's Slayer. That's probably like...
coming from the lower planets.
That might be like imported from other planets. But Megadeth.
No,
Frost. Where are they from?
I guess from Ireland or something.
Here's the thing. It's true, but even if you're like listening to Slayer, Motorhead, it's like once you hear right, as soon as that you want to move your body, you want to bang your head, you want to do something with your body. And I tell you, there's actually music that is violent. Like the words are about violence. The words are about destruction. The words are about racism. The words are about there's all types of music that carry less than noble messages. So it's sort of like you got to be careful what mantra you layer on tal and rag.
So like you're saying that
Kaustubha? What do you think? I thought that was pretty. I just came up with that.
I love it.
You got to be careful what message you layer on tal and rag.
Yeah.
Because it can make you hate, right? Or it can make you love, or it can make you fall in love. There's so many love songs, right? Mm-hmm. Or it can bring you right out of this world. That's my answer to music.
So it's powerful. We got to be careful how we use it then.
Yes. Yeah. And there's nothing like it, which means I really feel like it's imported somewhere. It's from some higher realm.
I gotcha. You know, I remember once hearing an interview with Bob Dylan, who's also quite a spiritual guy and who's also, you know, delved into bhakti, you know, quite a bit. And he said what you
get
said.
into bhakti, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And he said that he was being interviewed and someone was asking about his early music, you know, the songs he's most famous for from the 60s.
Yeah.
And they were asking, and he said, I just can't write that. I could never write those songs again. He said, I didn't write them, just like, you know, God gives you that. You can't just write songs like that. God gives you that. If I tried, I just couldn't do it now. You know?
I think musicians will say that. They channel something.
And also, I also remember I saw an interview with Smokey Robinson. And he was...
Hear a crazy story? Hold that, Smokey. Hold that, Smokey.
Okay.
Check this out. I was trying to write a song for our mantra record, Metamorphosis, the song. Okay. I wrote Metamorphosis. I could not figure... I worked on that song for 1 year, and I could not get it. Some songs I write instantly, and some songs I wrote, like it took me a year. This song took me 1 year to write, and I could not get this one riff. I was sitting there with the guitar, and I fell asleep. And it came to me while I was sleeping. I kid you not.
Yeah. It
came while I was sleeping. So I did, and sleeping is when you almost you're transported to other realms anyway.
What did the being look like who gave it to you?
Androgynous, carrying some type of
That's
staff.
where that came from. Okay.
Winged androgynous being carrying a staff.
All right. But so Smokey Robinson was talking about Marvin Gaye. And he said, you know, he visited Marvin Gaye as he was recording the record What's Going On, which was like many people consider the greatest record ever made. You know, beautiful music, and just like kind of like a whole, that record took music into like a whole nother realm, you know. And Marvin, he said, what Smokey Robinson said was that Marvin said to him, Smokey, I'm not writing these songs. Like God is just giving me these songs.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like, it's a common experience, you know. God gives
me,
us
Smokey Robinson,
me,
Bob Dylan, we're all up there.
All you guys, you know. But I think even sometimes, you know, like as, you know, like kind of our job is especially like as, I don't know what you'd call what we do, but, you know, like kind of speaking, you know, trying to share the wisdom of the sacred text. Often I feel too, it's just like, you know, sometimes you can't do it and sometimes you can, right? It's just like.
Right. Especially, yes. Teaching yoga, wisdom. You can read the book, you can read the knowledge, but you need to get something out of your way. Maybe it's the thinking process and let something like flow through. Like sometimes I say very profound things and I feel like that wasn't even my thing. I didn't even know what the next thing out of my mouth was going to be.
Right.
And I feel like that is another like clearing process. It's like, I feel like the vrittis of the mind settle, and then like you can just channel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that, you know, some people call it the flow experience or whatever it be. But for teachers or speakers or maybe parents or artists or musicians, that we probably have no clue what we're getting into when we do these things. But there's sometimes some type of, I guess you could call me a channeler.
I feel you're doing it right now, Raghunath.
I'm channeling right now.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go on to the next question and see what comes. So you are a musician, and you know, and through your music, although you're maybe not quite as famous as Bob Dylan or Marvin Gaye.
Well, sort of up there.
Sort of up there, but not
never,
quite.
never.
Not quite.
No, I hit a ceiling with my fame. My fame had a very low ceiling.
Okay, but that's what I want to talk to you about, though. But you still have experience fame. You still, you know. Well, this is a profit interview, so I'm going to just keep it simple. Tell me about fame.
I wrote a song about it. Oh man, maybe I can Google it right now.
Here we go. Just channel it. Why do you need to Google it, man? Just get out of the way and let it flow.
My Britties are spinning here.
Okay.
Ray and Porcel fame lyrics.
Okay.
This is a good song. Okay.
Was it channeled? What alien gave you this? Was it a
Right.
gray?
Huh?
Was it one of the grays that came and mind melded with you? And
Second, hold on a second here, sir. I'm digging up these lyrics from the Ray and Purcell single. We did a single, but I really like these lyrics.
is that the one where you're looking out the window together?
Yeah, it's a little cheesy, but people liked it.
Okay. I wasn't criticizing it.
Okay, let me see if I can remember. Okay, I can't remember. Okay, here's the deal about Fame.
All right.
You Google up the lyrics for Fame. Okay.
We're
Fame
gonna come up with the David Bowie one.
Oh, Fame. Those are probably good too. Fame is like this enticing energy that makes you think, like, if I can just get to here, then all my pain will go away. If I can just get to here, it sort of like lures you into, that was part of the word, I think. It lures you into this this idea of self-importance. You find yourself surrounded by a little universe of people that look up to you. And I say a little universe because it's a massive universe. You can have 20 people following you on Instagram and you feel like I've got a universe. Or you can have 1,000 people thinking I've got a universe. Or you can have 1M people following you and I have a universe. And what it does, it's tricky because the whole material illusion is based on you are the center of the universe. That's the material illusion. So when you find people to satellite around you, it confirms the illusion that you're the center. And the bigger you get with it, the illusion gets thicker. That's why if you have that energy of fame, it becomes a massive burden and can lead to like almost like a crippling situation where you're so wrapped up because deep inside, you're actually very small. You're not enlightened. You might have just fooled a few people, but a real like self-worth doesn't just come from everybody in the room saying you're great. That doesn't give it. I mean, there are a lot of people who get tons of validation and they're not whole connected beings. Our validation, our real self-worth comes from living a worthy life. Our self-esteem comes from doing esteemable things in this world. That's where we feel whole. And we don't need a bunch of people to go and tap us on the back and say, you're great, you're powerful, you're wonderful, you're beautiful. We don't need people to do that if we're living a life filled with esteem and doing esteemable activities and contributing. Then we feel whole in ourselves. So it's an external way to get like validation to try to make us feel whole and connected. But what it's doing is it's reinforcing the illusion, which gets more and more precarious as that energy gets bigger. And I think that's why a lot of people who get this thing of fame, they have to either get spiritual or they get turned on to some type of medication to medicate the pain of just dealing with that false identity. So you need constant type of quick fixes to ease that pain. Like I'm not enough. There's people get it from all types of things. People get it from being very beautiful, becoming very, I'm not familiar with this, of course, but people who have beauty suffer with this too. They get tons of attention. They get people hanging on every word. People who are very who just have tons of money. And I think it adds it's that good karma stuff can really screw up your life. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just without knowledge, it's an energy that becomes too powerful for a lot of people to handle. And it's almost like telling my 6-year-old to climb up the telephone pole and try to work on the electric wires. It's too much energy for him to handle. He's not trained. So sometimes we get fame dumped on us. We get some so-called good karma, and we abuse our bodies and we abuse other people, and we just don't know how to handle that energy, and we fry. We think about
well,
that. You get this lyrics? They're not up there. Man. Didn't make it to any of the lyric
It's
websites.
not,
I guess it's a lower ceiling than I even thought it was.
But those things that you mentioned, fame, you mentioned beauty, you mentioned wealth. These are all the opulences of Bhagavan, right? It's like we want some of Krishna's opulences, and then we try to use
the
it
word
to be
Bhagavan means one who has all these opulences, but in full. That's a name for God, according to
Did the song have something to do with that? Wanting the opulences of God? We have them in minute or something like that? Did it have?
No, not at all.
No, there's another song that did though, right? Where's Parmananda?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe he could say the lyrics for us if you're out there, Parmananda. Post the lyrics to Fame, or somebody could post the lyrics to Fame. But me and Parmananda did a single together, and that was one of the lyrics of Fame. And it was all the pain that even little fame can cause you. Making us so proud that was handed by us for Fame.
There you go.
Yeah. It keeps me anyway. I can't think. Okay, let's go on, my friend.
Let's move on. Okay, this is a real good fundamental question.
Okay,
what does it mean to be a good man?
Men are complicated beasts. Actually, we're simple beasts. Women are complicated beasts. Men are simple beasts. I think to be a good man, I think physiologically men are driven by their lower chakras. And I think
by lower chakras, you mean by the sexual drive? Sexual
sensuality, carnal pleasures, like sort of like a dog or an animal, maybe worse, maybe worse at times. And I think when a man can control that energy and not let that energy control them, they actually become a man. Before that, they're just a boy. And I think that's what separates men from boys. Or boys to men.
Boys to men.
That famous band.
Boys to men. Fame, it was all tied together.
So it's harnessing the lower energy and controlling it and then using it. It's like permaculture. You hold the energy and then you disperse it as it's appropriate and not inappropriate. And if a guy can't do that, they've never grown up. And if they can do it, they become very powerful too, because then they can tap into their higher faculties, their intelligence. They can their compassion. They can be gracious. They can be kind. They can use even power and strength. And a spirit of chivalry and all these things, but it's directed by a higher energy than a lower energy. Does that make sense?
I think that was very helpful. In other words,
meaning even something like violence is not necessarily bad. Sometimes you need violence to protect people, but if you're using it from your lower faculties, it's just rage. It's rage, and it's like thug life. It's not coming from a noble place. It's based on your ego.
So it's similar to what you were saying about music. It's like that male energy is powerful, but maybe it seems, I don't know, in my opinion, like in our day and age, that men are being controlled by that energy rather than controlling it. Largely.
They're being owned by it. And you know what? Culture encourages it. Culture is like, that's cool, you're doing great. And it's just not. And it's sad. Men have become pathetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that was very helpful, I think.
I think ladies have a nature of being kind and wanting to offer love and support. But if all you get is a man that's like an animal beast man, then it makes a wasted energy. You're like giving love to someone who's not worthy of that love because they're not acting in a worthy way. And so truthfully, it's like, that's why these early limbs of yoga are for to just start to curb your passions. And it's hard because we are sort of immersed in a culture that's like, it's a current, almost like a riptide, that we almost have. We are so immersed in culture, we don't even realize it. My phone was not working for a day. And I realized, like, wow, I'm like off the leash without this phone. How nice. It's like, I don't have to addictively look at a box all day long. And it's not just like that with the phone. We're like that with everything. We're like that with computers. We're like that with Netflix. We're like that with entertainment. And that's why it's so quality. I'm up here in the Adirondacks. It's so quality. Like Friday night, we just had a kirtan under the stars and a campfire with a bunch of people sitting around. And I was like, oh yeah, this is probably what life was like forever. It was forever. A bunch of people sitting around fire, singing songs. And I think it's missing in our life, and you have to actually work hard to get that back. Was I chasing squirrels with that answer? Because
Not at all.
I don't even know how I got here.
Not at all. No,
Okay.
thank you. That was excellent. Thank you. Next question.
I hope these are good.
You're doing great. You're doing great. So next one is, tell me about children.
I tell you, with children, it seems like you own them, and you don't own them at all. And in a lot of ways, there's a desire to own. And it's like, I made you. You even look like me. You know, you even talk like me. I mean, when I had Tarun, my littlest kid, and I'd walk, even when he was like literally like 2 months old, people would stop me on the street and said, oh my God, that is you. That looks just like you. And there's a type of like deep-rooted material attachment you get from that. But anyone who's got teenagers, or they get to that next age, they know that they go through this phase where they have to sort of like find themselves. So it's sort of like, as a parent, you love them and you prepare them. I mean, as a spiritualist, you want to give them as much spiritual direction as possible. But it's almost like, sometimes like we find on the farm, we'll find some like little bird. And my daughter will do this especially. Find a little bird, a little bunny, and they're adorable. And, you know, if you have a bird up close, their feathers are so beautiful. And you want to sort of, and they're injured. So you have to like nurse them a little bit. But it's only a matter of time before you have to like release them. And that's part of like parenting. It's sort of like you're trying to take care, but you have to release them. And if you don't release them because you want to control, like you can take some bird and say, you know, I like this bird. I'm going to clip its wings, right? And sometimes parents do clip the children's wings. Why don't you call me anymore? What's the matter? Why don't you? You know, you get overly attached to the child, and it's almost like the child has to play parent to the kid. So I think it's just like we have to give them love and give them some type of direction, which really means I have to learn to love myself and give myself direction, or else I can't give anybody anything. And then we have to like open that cage up. And or else they're just going to break out of the cage, or you'll possess them and you'll cripple them. How was that for an answer?
Well, you know what? Your answer was not so different from what the prophet said when he was asked the same question.
Ooh, I didn't even read that book. Or I read that book like 20 years ago.
He said, here's just part of what he said. He said,
if you love somebody, if you love some, set them free. Set them free.
Okay. What he said was, you may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Tell me about friend. Huh? It was good. It was good. It was good. Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer. Okay.
That's what you need to hear.
Family Feud. Good answer.
Okay, so tell me about friendship, Raghunath.
Friendship. I always say this one. Friendship is there's there are people that assist you on your path, but not necessarily people who just yuck it up with you. I strongly feel friendship should be upgrading and not degrading. I had a lot of friends when I was growing up that it was friendship, but in degradation. And when you start getting like on your spiritual trajectory, you start to think, this isn't friendship. This is holding me like, it's almost like a kite string, if not a chain, that's holding me to some like very base platform. And I feel like real friends will assist us to raise the bar. We're not going to use our friends to commiserate all of the problems in this world and fuel my gossip and my complaints and my resentments. To me, that's not friendship. To me, that is a degrading relationships. So friendships are meant to bring us up. And sometimes people in a degrading way can make us laugh, or we can have a good time with them. But if there is a purpose why we're here, which I'm firmly convinced there is, friendships are meant to bring us higher.
You bring me higher, Raghunath. You lift me up where I belong.
You lift me up, 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 up.
That's not the song. What is that?
That?
What song is that?
I feel like it was. Who is that? You still you give me up. Who is that?
I have no idea. I have no idea. All right. We're moving on, Raghunath. Because now I feel you dragging me down. I feel like
Talking Heads, 77 album.
What was it?
Come on.
I don't know what you're
Heads?
talking about. I know Talking Heads, but I don't know. I
The
couldn't
first album.
make it out from your rendition.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about, this is a heavy one. Tell me about pain.
Pain. Pain is sort of like a necessity, and is necessity, not a necessity. It's like, it just comes with the body. It's part of having a body. Just like pleasure comes with the body as well. But it's when the mind dwells on the pain and ruminates, then it becomes suffering. And that suffering is a choice. Pain is not a choice. You got to get pain. That's just part of having a body. But suffering's optional. And that's also part of our training as spiritual practitioners is sometimes, matter of fact, some spiritual paths, they even go out and they put their body in pain. Why? To practice tolerance. You know, they'll take, like, even our, you know, it's not really on the bhakti path, but, you know, we take cold showers in the winter. You know what I mean? It's not like people are like, yeah, let's do it. It was like, we did it just as like sort of to cut ourselves off of being mental. It actually helps you get over your mind. Matter of fact, some people with mild forms of depression, things like austerity, cold showers, fasting, it can help them get over their mind. Otherwise, the mind owns them. So to detach ourselves from the mind through simple austerity can give a little reprise, Mara?
Reprise, I believe.
I don't know. They can't hear that shrugging of the shoulders. So anyway, yeah. How's that?
That's very nice.
Pain, we got to get pain. Suffering's optional.
Say it again.
Pain we're going to get pain, but suffering
is optional. Right.
Suffering's optional. We can choose suffering or not. I mean, some people suffer from things happened 20 years ago. It becomes woven into the fabric of their life, and that's their story. I was a victim. It becomes part of their identity.
Right. Victim.
Victim.
Okay. This is a good one for you, Raghunath, and I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Yes.
Tell me about what it means to be a good teacher.
I say this a lot, so it's nothing new for people who are listening to me all the time, but a good teacher has the ability to see some greatness in someone that they can't see in themselves. They have to like look past. I say this not because I'm a great teacher. I say this because I have great teachers that have done this and are working on me. I'm like their project. They see some greatness in a person. And sometimes you have to train yourself because sometimes people are acting like real jackasses, but they see deeper and deeper past the jackassy behavior and see a spark of greatness. And then they let the student know about this greatness. You know, Raghunath Swami's done this with me so much, you know, in my worst stages, he's appreciated something about me. And because of that, it sort of like makes you want to like rise to the occasion. Whereas people who disempower you by bringing up your past, your shortcomings. Oh, remember when you did this? Oh my God, you were the kid who always did this. And they're like holding you to something that you were, or they're even holding to something that you are. But a teacher sees something that you can't see. You may not even be behaving like that presently, but they see this incredible potential in you and they fan that spark. That's a great teacher.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell me about religion.
Man, I just drank something that I thought was apple juice and it wasn't. I was like, Ah.
Tell me about apple juice.
You know, religion, the word actually turns me off. I see it like in a fish bowl, with a fish in a fish bowl, and the entire fish bowl is in an ocean. The ocean is Sanatana Dharma, meaning there's a function of the soul that everybody has, and it transcends any religious. Religion is like in a ball in that ocean, like a fish bowl in that ocean. But it's encompassed by this concept that everybody is a spiritual being. And that's what drew me to Bhakti. It's what drew me to Eastern culture. It was beyond a sectarian religion. It was inclusive. It saw spirit. You know, you're not going to, for a person who's into Sanatana Dharma and Bhakti, they're not going to, you know, picket against Christianity or Islam or something like that. They immediately, it's woven into the thought of how nice these people appreciate, you know, how nice they're doing this in this mosque, in this church, in this synagogue, how nice these people are trying to connect, you know. So they're just, I think religion, when it can be inclusive, which is hard sometimes because sometimes they're written from a very thin vantage point, then it's a wonderful thing. But when it becomes exclusive, it creates others. And so I feel like from the vantage point of Sanatana Dharma or Bhakti, I could actually go into any church, mosque, synagogue and have a healthy appreciation. I was saying in class yesterday that I always sort of like appreciated Christianity. It was funny because when I was in college, I went to 1 year of college. Don't make it sound like I'm a PhD or something. When I was in college, I was like, I don't want to be one of these womanizing guys. I don't want to be one of these guys who's always out partying in college. I need some good spiritual friends. So I found a Christian group on campus. And at the time I was studying.
Where did you go to school?
This was at Southern Connecticut University.
Okay.
New Haven.
Southern Connecticut.
Yeah. And so anyway, I was reading the Dhammapada. I don't know if you ever read the Dhammapada. These teachings of Buddha.
No.
And it was so good that I was like, wait till I tell my Christian friends. They're going to love it. I was like, there's so many great parallels here. And they were just like stone-faced, like, no, not welcome. And I was like, why? It's like the same thing. And, you know, the problem with religion, I see, is it's oftentimes taught in a very exclusive way. And I feel what you create others, and you create offenses, actually, because everybody is child of God, child of divinity, child of source. And for us to like look down upon somebody because they have different rituals, to me, it's sort of just silly. But spirituality, I think, is something that happens every moment of your life if you want it to, if you want it. You know, not in a particular time during the week. It's just part of your life, and it should be joyful, like that beautiful verse in the 7th chapter of Pratyakshagabamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Aviyam. It's susukam. It's like very joyful. There is some austerity, but the real thing is it's very joyful to the heart.
While we're on the topic of joyful spiritual practice, please tell us about prayer.
You know, I think in the way I have it, like kirtan is a type of prayer. And even though you're doing it with a group, it's almost like a group-led prayer. So I really love that. I love the fact that we sing a lot. I really love that. And I feel like kirtan is especially with the Maha Mantra, it is like the ultimate prayer, because you're praying for, we're not even praying for, someone's sick, we're praying for health. We actually pray, thy will be done. It's like a very pure prayer for, we trust there's a bigger plan for us. And just let me understand the teaching in what's unfolding in front of me. So that's one type of prayer that I like to do, singing. But I also like being in the forest and just praying in English, not with any formal mantra, but just praying and opening up my heart when I'm private. I think it's a special, I think it's real connection and communion, and I actually feel heard.
Thank you.
Is that any good?
Yes.
Any good? I'm not getting any feedback from live here. They're just like
good answer. Good answer.
Like a golf clap.
Okay.
Where's the Family Feud, people?
Then let me pick a heavier subject. Maybe we'll get some reaction.
Okay.
Tell me about death.
Oh, death. A death. I think death is like, it's sort of like the final lesson. And if you didn't get the lesson, then death becomes quite horrible, because what's happening is you didn't let go of that. You don't let go of that. You don't let go of that. You didn't get that. You didn't own that. Now you're going to lose it all. And it must be, I can only imagine, the most devastating thing when you think, I am my beauty. I am my body. I am my strength. I am my muscles. I am my hair. I am my family. I am my job. I am my home. I am my car. I am my ego. I am my ability. When you realize that all those things, and Krishna says in the Gita, basically all those things, they're all coming from me. And when I don't see them as me, but I see, like, I'm actually a spirit soul. I'm here for a few days. I'm here to render love and service. When I fully get that, I can understand, like, when everything gets taken away from me, it's not anything. It's just like changing your clothes, changing your outfit. But with any like bit of attachment, and I think for the devotees, people practicing bhakti, he'll use disease and death. Disease and death become a way to like really polish the jewel of letting go of these last attachments, And it can be quite beautiful. If you've seen spiritual people leave their body, it can be quite beautiful.
What was the most beautiful death you've ever witnessed?
I've had a few interesting deaths. There's one time I was chanting at Govardhan, Govardhan Hill, beautiful death. And I was chanting, walking around Govardhan Hill. I was alone, and I heard some kirtan going on. Oh, kirtan, you know, in Govardhan, you can like wander off the trail and enter a little forest ashram. So I wandered off the trail. I heard this beautiful chanting, and I just like stepped right in to an old man with like a white sheet around his over up to his neck, and all of his disciples chanting around him, like chanting for him to leave his body.
He was lying down.
He was lying down. He had a piece of tulsi leaf on his tongue, and they were all chanting in his ear to leave his body. And it was just like, it seemed so beautiful. I was like, what a great way to go here. You know? Then there's that story I told about the people that I met in England, that young couple that I went back a year later, and her husband said, my wife died. I didn't experience this, but he told me it. And when the paramedics said that she got up after she was in a car accident, and the paramedics said that she took off her oxygen and just said, I'm going to leave my body now. And the paramedics were like looking at her, and she just started chanting the Maha Mantra and left her body. And the paramedics said they've never seen anything like it, you know? My wonderful friend Tamal tells me the story about how his father left his body, where he was also practicing bhakti for many years, and he was on a family trip. He was on a family trip, and he said, my father, and they had like many children, and he said, I'm going to, his father said, pull over the car. And they pulled over, and he said, he gets back to the car, tells his wife, drive me to the hospital. I just had a heart attack. And all the kids were crying. It was very traumatic. They went to the hospital. The doctors came in. They put, I don't know much about heart attacks or being a physician, but they put all these tests, did all these tests, and the doctor came out, called the family together. Everybody's upset. He said, look, it wasn't a heart attack. I don't know what it was, but you're fine. Everything's going to be good. Just, you know, take it easy. And the father left. The doctor left. And the father called all the children together, and he said, listen, the doctor's wrong. I did have a heart attack, and I'm about to have a massive heart attack, and I'm going to leave my body. And I want you to know that our relationships are real if they're connected with love, because we're not these bodies. And this body's going to melt, go away, just like your body will melt and go away. And we're here to come together for a short time to assist each other in our spiritual growth. Like, could hear a pin drop, massive heart attack. And so he told me this story. It was so beautiful. He said, you know, he said, most people's parents teach them how to live, and my father taught me how to die.
Who was that?
His name's Tamal, and he owns a yoga studio called Yoga Salt in Marina Del Rey. I think he lives in Asheville now. Great guy.
Amazing.
It's a much more colorful story. I just gave you the abbreviated version, but very cool.
Okay, thank you. I got a few more questions for you.
Okay. Hope people are getting something out of this.
I'm sure they are. So my question is, please tell us about kindness. You're muted, Rogue, somehow.
I thought you were going to ask about marriage. Isn't that on the list?
I can ask you about marriage if you want. Please tell us about marriage.
I've got nothing to say. No. Marriage is like a container. It sort of baits you in with some sexiness and some romance, but it's like a container to learn life's lessons from, you know, that like in sickness or in health. That's a big thing in good times or bad times, you know, of
happiness,
of
distress.
It's just like happiness and it's the container from where to grow. And that's where, and if you're into the concept of transformation and evolution, it's almost like a necessity. I feel like in a lot of ways, because there's pushback. You can't, if you're living in your ego, you can't always do what you want to do in a marriage. And if you think, it's pretty easy, then you should pop out a couple kids, and you'll realize you're not the center of the universe any longer. And so there's always a type of pushback, and it's always great for like shaving down the ego, which is a necessity in spiritual life. And you can learn like the most valuable lessons ever. Nowadays, we don't, people don't take it seriously. I understand. People say, oh, what's the big deal? It's just a piece of paper. I feel like, no. There's a power in that container if we're here for growth. People always just want an out. They just want an out. You know what I mean? So it's like they don't like to seal things up. And that's why in Vedic teachings, there's always this idea of commitment. There's a commitment, or Grandfather Bhishma takes the vow, and we're like, oh, the vow, the vrata. Why? Because vows help us get off the mind. The mind is always like, maybe, maybe not, maybe, maybe not, and we're vacillating back and forth. And it's living in the mind that causes so much pain oftentimes. Sometimes it's just good to say, just do it. We're going to do it. Okay, we're going to do it. Or like that, who is the invader of South America? Cortez. They went to invade the Aztecs. And there was not that many of them, and there was like nations of Aztecs. I'm not glorifying, taking over countries, but the way he did, he told his people, burn all the boats. Burn all the boats, because we're either just going to die or we're going to defeat them. So it's when you burn the boats, like you make no other options and you just make these resolute, determined commitments. It helps you get over the mental platform, which oftentimes we suffer with. What do you think about that?
That was good.
Yeah.
Burn the boats. So you're saying sometimes
burn the boats.
Sometimes we just want to escape when we're really getting to the point where the challenge is.
I always feel like you're going to learn those lessons anyway. The lessons are going to come anywhere. It's part of our journey is to like learn these lessons. I'm not that humble. I got to be a little bit more humble. I'm not that with marriage. I think it's when it's really getting problematic, if there's violence in there, or if there's like degradation in there, or if you feel like this is actually not only not good for my spiritual life, it's like very unhealthy. Then I think there's there's like reason maybe to let go of it. But I think people just also let go of it in a cheap way nowadays, because we just take things cheaply now. Everything's disposable. Everything's a plastic cup. People don't fix their cars. They don't fix their watches. They just throw them out and buy a new one. We've created things that they wear out in 2-3 years or something. What do they call that? Something.
A planned
obsolescence. Yeah. Planned obsolescence. What do you think about that? Mara. Mara's like,
Okay.
Mara's very quiet today. You notice that?
Well, it's just we got this interview thing going on, Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, Raghunath.
Okay.
We'll go back to kindness.
I'm bored with myself today. I'm sorry if this is boring.
It's not. Why don't you just relax, okay? No, tell us about kindness, please.
Kindness. Can I pass on that one?
Really? No. Now you see, there's the challenge right there. You see? We're gonna burn the boat. You're gonna tell me about kindness, whether you like it or not.
It's good. It's good to be kind. I don't have anything good for kindness.
You got to be cruel to be kind.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay, all right, you can pass.
Give me something else.
Then I'll ask you something like this. I'll go a little bit different. Tell me about the Bhagavad-gita.
Bhagavad-gita. The Bhagavad-gita is just like it's not for a particular religion. The Bhagavad-gita is truth, and truth is for everybody. And it's like one of those. It's like a wisdom literature that grows as you grow. Like if you were to read it when you're 15, it's going to mean something to you. At 21, it's going to mean something to you. At 35, it'll mean something. It sort of blossoms as you grow. And it's one of those books. It's not like from your summer reading list. Okay, Catcher in the Rye, check. Of Mice and Men, check. You'll always go back to the Gita, and it'll always be there with a fresher scent, with a more beautiful blossom. And books like this, they stand the test of time. They make sense now. They give inspiration now. They gave it 100 years ago, 500 years. I mean, this book is thousands of years old. It's quite unbelievable, Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Raghunath.
It is one chapter of my favorite book, the Mahabharata.
No, well, it's more than one chapter, but one section.
One section.
Yeah. Thank you, Raghunath. That's it. You did it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
You're today's
I was
prophet.
I'm just going to call that. Come on.
Good answers. Good answers.
Good. All right. Well,
There
it
we
was
go.
like 1 hour of the hot seat. Woo. Thanks, everybody. Well, it is a great day for a great day. Thanks for all the divine couples. We've got a lot of divine couples. Thanks to Live hanging out. Live, say hi to everybody. Woo! Here at the Bark Eater Inn. Lake Placid, this place is beautiful. Thanks for all the people listening on Zoom. These guys are clapping. Live is clapping, and they're clapping off beat. They're rushing the beat. Listen when you clap. Ready? Hear it. Ready? There we go. Now you can clap. Woo. And thanks for all the people who listen on Apple Podcast. Hey, if you're new out there and you have a good story to tell and you want to talk about your spiritual journey, write us on Apple Podcast. You can leave a message right on your iPhone, and you can give us a review and tell your story. We want to read your story. It's so interesting. And your journey home inspires our journey. We all find a piece of ourselves in your journey. Thanks for everybody writing in their Krishna coincidences. You can send them to my Instagram address. And tomorrow is Makeover Monday, which means if you want to add something to upgrade your life, sometimes it happens to do with our spiritual practice, our diet, our health. We write it down on our Patreon account. You can just write it on a piece of paper. But if you'd like to join our Patreon group that talks about Makeover Mondays and has a whole yoga school going on, and you financially support the podcast, which is community supported, you go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
Higher.
Wisdom of the Sages. Go now.
And what is happening today on Patreon, Mara? Tell us.
Asana Lab with Silas at 1 p.m. for Patreon members.
Go into the
In the
laboratory.
lab with Silas. He's
Yes.
great.
He is great.
Okay. If you're on page 1 on Zoom, you better be dancing, page 1ers.
You're doing it a little different today, Raghunath. Generally, you go like this.
This is a
Instead,
new one I
you're doing
got.
this. I met David Charles Wilson yesterday.
He's great. David Charles Wilson's great.
Union Square, Harnam. It's really nice to meet you, David.
Also, Wisdom of the Sages Retreat, right to Mara, to get on the list. It's a first come, first serve. It's on Mara, October 18th. That's Super Soul Farm. It's a retreat with Mara cooking and me and Kaustubha there and all your Wisdom of the Sages people.
We got to interview Nitai Lieberman.
Publicly, we're announcing it to you guys. I guess this is publicly.
Where's
right,
little
guys.
Where's little Gopi today? Is she's not? I don't see her with Nitai.
I don't know. Here's little Gopi Lieberman. I know these
He's gonna
kids,
let us
but I
know.
know the parents. That's weird. See the parents. Yeah, I'm friends with your kids. Oh, there he is. Nitai Lieberman's right there.
Yeah.
Kissy, kiss, number.